Morning, everyone. Just want to comment on the address that Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta, gave to Albertans yesterday with respect to some of her comments regarding Mark Carney and the position that Alberta plays within Alberta and within Confederation, and highlight some of the areas I think that people need to focus on more than others. So the reality is, she came out yesterday, pointed out, very rightly so, that Alberta has contributed and been a significant contributor to Confederation and to Canada to the tune of, in her words, $500 billion. That's not insignificant. And she somehow, though, proceeds to go on beyond that with this false sense of hope that she's sharing that somehow Canada can be fixed. And that's the issue I want to address because I understand she's the premier of a province within Confederation. And she made it very clear, she is definitely a federalist, which means that she will not support Alberta separating. Her idea is to achieve sovereignty within a united Canada. Now, I'm going to prove to you today, and it's not just me who's proven this, it's the work of hundreds of people who have continually done the research, have made the effort to try and make change happen and reform a very broken system, but it's just not possible. And it doesn't matter who it was. We've had prime ministers who were from the West who were going to make change happen, and it just didn't happen. So the significant cost of Confederation to Alberta can't be underestimated. And for so many people in the East, they seem to think that Alberta is just whining. Well, no, these grievances are real. And the more that you just provoke and poke the snake by saying that you're just a bunch of whiny, greedy Westerners, this is just not helping. So the reality is the grievances are real. And if this was happening in reverse, it would never be tolerated. It, for some reason, it seems that, the people in the East, the West don't deserve the same level of respect and the same level of courtesy. So here it goes. So, $500 billion that we've contributed, according to our own premier, to Confederation. Lost opportunity costs, whether it be the Northern Gateway Project or Energy East, has cost Albertans billions upon billions of dollars more in prosperity and opportunity and projects and better healthcare and better education, because that's what all those things equate to. So even for those Albertans that are sitting here going, well, stop moaning about it, and we got to keep our oil in the ground. This is your future. This is the future for your children, right? Is in our natural resources. We got to get these out of the ground. We got to develop them. Doesn't mean that we're irresponsible about it. Of course not. But there are ways to do things. The more we can export to places like India and China, the better we are helping things like climate change, if indeed that is your concern. They are the ones that are doing the polluting, not Canada. So we have some of the most ethical oil and gas in the world. So why are we not using it? I want to talk then about a little bit how she believes that she can remain within Canada and fix this. And she's calling for yet another task force. Well, we've done the whole send everybody out and let's have a panel and have Albertans come to the table and discuss what it is important to. It was called the Fair Deal panel, Danielle, and it was only done a few years ago. So I don't know why we need to do this again. This is a waste of time. It's a waste of effort. It's an insincere proposition meant to calm things down on the separation side, but accomplish nothing more than has already been accomplished. So the reality is, Albertans have already spoken. We did a referendum on equalization. What's happened from that? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing has happened. Not this government or the government before has made any effort to address the disparity and the inequality of equalization payments. CPP and getting our own Alberta pension plan. So it was made very clear in the last Fair Deal panel that that's what people wanted. Again, I have spoken to that one in nauseum. And so there is absolutely no reason why we should not have an Alberta pension plan. And yet Danielle Smith has put obstacles in our path, not cleared the path to make that happen. You have an Alberta police force. Again, why are we not getting on with that? Let's get this done. Why do we not collect our own taxes? We are sending all of our money to a central Canada, who then sends us back less than what we give them. Think about that. So, for all those people in Alberta who sit here and go, oh, well, we can fix it, let's talk about that. We can't fix it. Why? Because it's been tried numerous times. 1930s, we had to fight for our own resource allocation and to own and control those, which was a privilege that was given to every other province except the West. So, right from the very beginning, this was done by design. The design is that the central Canada, Quebec and Ontario primarily are going to make the decisions. They are going to be the ones that rule the policies, and the West is going to be the one that pays for it. That was by design. So finally, though, they did win, control of their natural resources, and Alberta was able to dig itself out of a have-not province as a result of a discovery of some tar sands, thankfully in Leduc, and it changed Alberta's trajectory. It changed Albertans' ability to influence their own destiny, right? Prosperity, that's what prosperity does. And this is why Mark Carney is so terrified of Alberta, is because we are independent thinkers who he views as very dangerous. Let's be honest, there's nothing more scary to a Marxist, a socialist, than somebody who can actually think for themselves and make their own decision based upon proper information. Now, they will argue that they are the ones that have all the information. They are far more intellectually superior to us. And that is indeed, as most of my viewers know, not the case. We can think for ourselves here in Alberta. Thank you very much. We don't need someone else telling us what we're going to do. Now, Danielle goes on to say that it's only been the last 10 years. It's only been the last 10 years. No, it hasn't. How about Bristol Aerospace? The Winnipeg Aerospace and Defense Company that was rightfully so, won the CF-18 project, and it ended up getting awarded to Montreal Canadair, right? No, this design has been stacked against Alberta and the West from day one. The 1970s, we saw Trudeau and an export tax on oil and gas to the benefit of central Canada, right? The federal government just collected more fees and not to the benefit of Albertans, right? And then, of course, Ontario jumps on board with, well, Alberta needs to share its wealth. Well, you know what? Quebec doesn't share any of its revenues on hydroelectricity. Ontario doesn't collect any or share any of its revenues with respect to its natural resources and manufacturing. Why is it that only Alberta is expected to share its resources? And Alberta has been more than happy to share in its prosperity and the wealth to the tune of $500 billion, apparently. And yet we are still called greedy. It's like a stop. This is just, again, by design, people. So, when we look at that, and then you look at the NEP, Danielle Smith said just the last 10 years. Has she forgotten about the National Energy Program, which was just a complete grab for the natural resources, the wealth, a redistribution of wealth from the West to the East at the expense of Albertans primarily? That harmed Alberta. It is burned. It is ingrained into Albertans' minds. They will never forget the first Trudeau, and they will never forget that national energy program. That harmed them for decades. Absolutely destroyed their economies. Families were torn apart. The wealth that was here was just ripped out from underneath people's. It was just devastating. And I mean, I cannot emphasize that enough. I still talk to so many people who remember that, and they will never forget. Ever, ever, ever. And then she goes on to talk about the liberal government the last 10 years. Fair enough. So the liberal government last 10 years, absolutely. But the problem is we keep running through these cycles of liberal conservative, liberal conservative, liberal conservative. The liberals, yes, are fast tracking the problems, but the conservative government has made no difference. So C-69, C-48. Then she says, well, we've won some challenges in court. But then the Alberta government, great, you won some challenges, but what's been the outcome? The federal government just continues to ignore you. They ignore us. They can. We have no electoral weight. We have no ability to work with the Supreme Court to enforce these things. So, what is the point? Right? The point is we have tried the reforms. Preston Manning, his father Ernest Manning, Stephen Harper was the prime minister. Here's a strong Western leader, was part of the Reform Party. He said that he was going to at least get, the Senate reformed, went all the way to the Supreme Court, only to learn that he could not do it. What did he do? Second election had to turn around and appease Quebec and Ontario because that is the only way this game works. To win power, you have to appease Quebec and Ontario. He increased the equalization payments to Quebec in order to win favor and to win votes at the expense of Alberta. And his comment was, well, I didn't think Albertans mind. Okay. So, again, Canada Confederation by design was about using the Western provinces as nothing more than a colony to rape and pillage its resources to the benefit of the East. That has never changed right from day one. It will never change. And the only option, in my opinion, and it is way past due, and it's taken me some time to get here too. I agree. I agree. I thought we could change things. I was naive until I got into it. And here I am now, 7, 8 years later, and I realize there is no alternative. There is no other option for Alberta but to put separation on the table meaningfully and have a proper referendum. Now, Danielle wants to have numerous questions. This is sabotage. No. If we are going to have a referendum on separation, I want one clear question. I want one referendum question. That's it. Only one. We are not putting, oh, do we have to have daylight savings time? Oh, should we have an Alberta pension plan? No, let's have one clear question. Let's not muddy the waters. Let's not confuse people. Do you, as an Albertan, wish to leave Confederation and form your own independent nation? There you go. One question, right? That's your referendum. Not muddying the waters with 15 other different questions. Okay, so we already know that if we want this to succeed, there has to be a clear question and there has to be a clear majority. So, again, Danielle has made it very clear yesterday she has no intention of supporting separation. She wants a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. And we've already indicated and proven 100 times over that that cannot happen. Then she talks about her willingness to work with Mark Carney. Well, Mark Carney, Mr. G fans, Mr. UN climate envoy, World Economic Forum. I mean, in his book Values, he made it very clear there is no working to the benefit of Albertans with this gentleman. There is just no way it's going to happen. Now, he may choose to play moderate here in the little bit till things calm down. But the reality, he does not respect freedom of speech. He does not, he's going to bring in more censorship. He does not respect Albertans and the West anymore. Oh, even I'm from the West. Yeah, that's nice. I just, you know what? Your policies have made it very clear where you stand. And he's a banker, and he's been playing in this game. He claims that he's not a politician. He's been in both public and private for a very long time. He knows how this works. He is the puppet master who has come down from on high to take over from the puppet, Justin Trudeau, but who was pulling the strings. And he had plenty of influence with Justin Trudeau. To think that this is any different is just deluding yourself. And Danielle knows this. Danielle is a smart woman. She is extremely articulate. She is extremely stoic. She always presents herself so very well, and she's going to win a lot of favor with that speech with a lot of people. But the reality is, nothing has changed for Alberta, and Danielle knows it. Right? We cannot get a fair deal within Canada. It has been tried by more people than her, by better people than her, and it has not happened. It's 120 years of history. And the reality is, nothing has changed. So we have to do something different, right? This is the definition of insanity. You want a different result, you have to do something different. And you know what, Albertans, we have to recognize that this is a citizens' initiative. Do not take the bait on this 177,000 where she's lowered the bar to get to a referendum question. We have to have our ducks in a row. We need to be organized. We need to have strong leadership. We need to have solutions in place. So we need to take our time. We don't need a lot of time, but we do need more time to garner those votes, to garner the petition so that we know we have the support, that when this referendum is called, it is successful. This bait of 177,000, she'd be happy to call this for October, in which case what she does is then pulls the trigger, says, hey, look, I did what people asked me, citizens initiative, and it failed. That is what we need to avoid. So we must make sure that that doesn't fail. So here we have our premier who is providing false hope, in my opinion, to Albertans that Alberta can work somehow with Confederation to fix the problems. It's been tried, it's been tried, it's been tried. I've had this conversation with so many people these last 2 weeks where people are like, "We have to be able to do something." No, you tell me what we have. Put it on the table. Tell me what hasn't been done. We've done fair deal panels. We have had prime ministers. We have had other premiers. We have had court cases that we have won, and yet nothing changes for Alberta. Why? Because we do not have the electoral way to make the change. Canada, by design, is there to serve Ontario and Quebec and no other. Okay, so our equalization payments were a buy off. They were a payout to Quebec to say, hey, look, you don't need to leave Canada. Why? Because it is so prosperous for you to stay. We're going to pay you to stay. Right. And again, it came at the expense of the West. So, here's my thoughts on yesterday. Please do not be fooled to think that anything has changed. Please do not. Get this false hope that somehow Danielle Smith is going to be able to negotiate what no other premier, prime minister has even been able to accomplish. It can't be done. And so we need to be realistic. This is what I'm asking Albertans. It's like, take away the fear and the scare tactics that the East and the media and everybody else is throwing at you, because those are the tools of tyrants. Tyrants are the ones that want to, scare you and, keep you living in a constant state of fear. Why? Because you're easy to control. Right? Well, Albertans are not easy to control. We never have been easy to control, which is much of part of the problem with Eastern Canada as well. They do not like the fact that we are entrepreneurial, that we think for ourselves. We have a very individualistic entrepreneurial spirit. We don't mind taking risks because that is everything that Marxist ideology is not. And that is what is existing right now in the East, is a socialist Marxist ideology, and where safety and security come above all else. Well, I'm sorry, but our Alberta history here of ranchers and farmers and pioneers, that is the exact opposite of who we are as a people. So I'm going to end it here. I just wanted to comment on the few things that I saw yesterday in Danielle's speech. And the reality is, she's providing false hope. This comment that it can be fixed, no, it can't. It just can't be done. It's been tried. So God bless you all. Have a great day, everyone.